10 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
It's only 2 days.
8:30 to 6:30? I don't know, my attitude may be bitter now, but we'll see. We'll see what this is all about. I'll give my review at the end of this. Long day full of Jesus.
Yes. Right now we're grabbing coffee because it's necessary. For those of you who don't know, Josh and I are Catholic and we are getting married at a church. And one of the requirements is attending a 2-day program. Some cases it's a retreat where you have to stay on site 1 night, 2 days. But luckily, in our case, we get to go home at the end of the day and come back the next day.
Yep, because our church is right down the street. Win.
So yeah, it's a 2-day program. Today it's going to be from 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Tomorrow, Sunday, it's from 8:30 to 5. Obviously, we can't bring the camera inside with us. We will try to film during our breaks, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have maybe an hour lunch break or so. We'll try to fill you in what we talked about, what we did in there.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a long day.
It's a long weekend.
We'll see how this goes.
So we are now on our lunch break.
We switched cars because
Yeah.
I had to get some stuff from my car to drop off to my mama's house later. Gotta drop off that money. You know, take care of your moms, ladies and gents. Take care of your moms or your dads. Or both.
Yeah, so far it's the first half of today was pretty easy. It's a lot of writing down answers, discussing it amongst each other, and then there's a time where we discussed in a small group.
It's cool.
A lot of it we kind of already know. We just had a lot of experience. I mean, we lived together for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I'm entering this with an open mind. Like, this class is a general class for people just getting married or about to get married or just got married. Even though we've experienced most of the things they're discussing in like the first 2 years of living each other, it's like it's okay to keep an open mind and just hear what else there may be to discuss.
Or what they can offer.
They can offer what we hear from other couples too.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I'm kind of like, okay.
Like we already know.
Yeah.
How to, like, it's important to keep dating after.
Yeah, it's like we know that.
You're married.
We still date. I don't know, I always tell everybody, it's like, we live with each other for so long, it's like, we're already married.
Mm-hmm.
You have that mindset, like, I'm meh about it still, like, I think it's great, I think the people that volunteered in teaching are cool. I think, again, my idea of just having to go through this class is just a little like, okay, it's a formality, it feels and it is a formality for me, so far. It's like, there's nothing new that I've learned yet, or about her. Because we're so open with our communication with each other.
At least I'm trying to be. I'm still working on it, and that's what we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only been the first half of this program, so we're still kind of in the introduction part.
That's it.
That's it. So we'll get back to you after.
Mm-hmm. We'll let you know how it goes.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're about to eat. We're hungry. So we just got out. It's now 5 o'clock. That's the end of the first day of the program. Again, it's nothing that we don't already know.
It's a formality to us. I think it just drags on because it's like it's things we've already discussed before. Stuff like finances and arguing, like how to deal with them and stuff like that. Communication, how it's a big factor. I don't know, it's like everything you need to like.
A lot of it is common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense and like stuff you learn when you're living with each other. What can 5-6 years of living with each other teach you? Pretty much everything. But yeah, we'll see how day 2 works out tomorrow.
So for us, we'll see you guys tomorrow, but for you guys, we'll see you in like 2 seconds.
Bye.
Bye. Day 2. We got our coffee again.
The last 4 hours dragged on yesterday. Felt so long after lunch.
Yeah, after lunch, I started getting food coma, which is painful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we were sitting in the front, and it just sucks because...
You can't really fall asleep in the front?
No. But that was your fault. You wanted to sit in the front.
Yeah, so I could stay awake.
We'll get back to you during lunchtime, I guess.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we're at our lunch break. We just got finished eating lunch. We wanted to eat before we get back to you guys.
So we ended early because
Daylight savings.
daylight savings, and the presenters thought that the clock on the wall was right, and he was like, or the couple's like rushing through it. He was like, oh well, just use the time. And I was like, all right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, my attitude from what I had yesterday, still the same, but today I was just like, it's more entertaining, I think.
So the first half of today, we talked more about sex in marriage and children. What are your thoughts?
I mean, like, we already had this conversation in depth before about our perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was cool to have a reminder and an actual discussion on it and how it relates to God and how it relates to our religion. And it's not as by the book as it's perceived, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, okay. Basically, long story short, without, like, preaching to you guys, sex is part of a marriage, or sex is part of a relationship, whether you're married or not. And, yeah.
They addressed how the church sees what sex is and then how society sees it. Well, obviously, how society sees it is an object.
What I got out of it was that sex is part of love.
That's like obvious things.
So basically, not to see sex as an it, or not to objectify.
And something that you don't just need.
It shouldn't be seen as an activity.
So what I got out of it, I think the important quote was at the very end when they said that every time when you make love, it's like renewing your vows.
And nothing against people that have had sex before marriage. I mean, like, they're saying how like sex is a coming of age and how it's standardized as that in society. And like, if you think about it, yeah, it's true. When you're younger, for the most part, at least for me, like, you're kind of peer pressured to like lose that right away, or like get as many as you could, kind of thing, treat it as a number. And I think that's like, it's just the way it is. It's the way that society has been turned today. And I think that it's like, it's nothing wrong if you experience it. Don't feel anything bad about it. But everybody grows and changes and matures, and that's just how it is.
This whole topic kind of relates to us and like our current situation.
We can talk about it.
I don't know. Do you want to?
So basically, let me explain it, so that way you don't have to feel uncomfortable explaining it.
Okay.
Once upon a time, not long ago, I was a... I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. But what I will say is that for me, I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or anything like that. Like back in the day, damn, I'm old. Way back when, before Tina, I was like very sexually active, lots of partners. As time goes on, like sex is just sex. Like, it was an activity for me back then, and that's kind of like what hit me during the teaching
seminar.
today. During the seminar today, was just like, yeah, I did objectify sex, and it was more of an activity to do something when you were bored or when you were at the moment. And it wasn't really most of the time back then. It wasn't even out of love. It was out of lust. And the thing is, right now with me and Tina, is like we're at this point in our lives where like we are trying to be as responsible as we can. We don't want to raise a kid when we're not financially stable. And realistically, right now, like even though we have good jobs, like where we live in California right now, I personally don't think you could raise a kid with our income.
No.
Like, our income is enough to live and have fun, but is it enough to raise a child? I don't think so. Like, we need a better job. That, and we have like a lot of other goals in life. Like, we want to travel a lot. There's a lot of more things that we want to do. And it's tough because we have so many things we want to do, but we're getting to the age where it's like, this is a good age to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But again, back to my first point, we're not financially stable or mentally ready to have a kid, as much as we would want one.
There's something that they pointed out. They said something along the lines of you can love somebody, but also not accept like their fertility. In other words, being on birth control. With us, like what he said, I mean, yeah, we love each other, but we're not ready to have a kid. It's not that we don't accept each other's fertility, it's just we're not ready.
Yeah, and it's like we're trying to be responsible too, because if we were to have a kid now out of pressure of age, or
and people have been pressuring us. Sometimes they're jokes and I get it, and at the same time it's like it'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, it's not fair to our kid if we raise a kid when we're not ready, you know what I'm saying? Like, we want to raise a kid to the best of our ability and not undermine that. Like, we want to do our best as parents financially.
Oh, it's dark. It's too dark.
There we go.
There it is. Okay.
Wow, we went a lot more in depth than we usually do.
So we're home because we have like about an hour to kill.
I got stuff to take care of.
We're probably gonna take a quick nap. All right, so we'll get back to you guys.
We did it!
We're finished. 2 whole days with God.
Jesus.
Here it is. Here's our certificate.
Read it. What does it say?
It says, a wedding is a day, a marriage is a lifetime. Josh Florido and Tina Bernardo have experienced prep weekend. Yeah, so the second half, actually this whole day,
Come by fast.
it did go by fast.
I think it's because we had different presenters and more entertaining.
It was more entertaining today, and not just from the speakers, but the topics as well.
Yeah.
We talked about like what the sacramental matrimony is and why we want to get married in a church. And we also did a confession. I went to confession. I cleansed my soul. I feel great.
I didn't confess yet. I like doing my confessions blindly. Like, if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically a confession behind a closed wall.
Yes.
You can't see the priest's face, and the priest's face can't see you. It's just more comfortable for me. I feel like I can be honest and open more when people don't see my face.
The confessions this time, it was in person, and I don't know, I still did it. I thought it was good for me personally. Yeah, we ended with a mass.
There's so many prayers that changed. Like, since there's a handful before, like, because I don't go to church as often as I used to.
Yeah, there were months when I had to pause and I was like, wait, what?
They changed it. Yeah, they changed a lot of stuff, and I'm just like,
What's your takeaway from this weekend?
once we're married, that's it. And I guess my takeaway is that to treat sex as less of an object and a obligation and more of a part of your life that you should to cherish more. Yes, just remember to always keep loving your life. Because without love in your life, then you don't have
Loving God.
Loving God. Yeah, if you don't have love in your life, then you don't have God in your life. Period.
Well, I thought the family of origin was an interesting topic for me, other than the marriage and sex. I didn't notice how I see my parents is what I would expect in our marriage.
I'll make more of an effort to go to church. Give a little short background without getting too deep into it. I grew up in the church that we're getting married in. Tina wanted to get married there. And at first, I didn't want to get married there. Mainly because, I don't know, it's kind of the whole thing of like, you grew up somewhere, you're so used to it, you want to try to get married somewhere else. But I guess the sentimental part of it makes sense too. The church has definitely changed over the years, and like whether it's staffing and where that's the actual building, yeah, it's definitely not the same as what I remember it being, but my mom is still actively in the church. She reads, and I had been going to church from when I was a little baby, like through their schooling there, all the way up until high school, and a little bit after high school, like in college, like probably my freshman year, sophomore year, I still went to church, but slowly I haven't been going as much. So after today, I'll try and make more of an effort to go to church and even to spend time with my mom more, because I barely see my mom, and I feel like it's a better way to stay close with her and spend time with her is by sharing our faith with God.
For me, it felt like an obligation. Like my parents would, not just my parents, but my dad's side of the family kind of made it an obligation for me to go, and it just didn't feel natural. Yeah, I kind of stopped going. But when I moved here with Josh,
we used to go to church together.
We did, but I actually tried to make an effort to go. Even without Josh, I would go with his mom sometimes. Like even during Simbang Gabi, which is when you go to church at 5 in the morning, I think 12 nights before Christmas or something.
Oh yeah, you know they do that now, but they do it at midnight. There's midnight mass for church. I don't know. Maybe it's
Oh,
something.
but after this weekend, I will try to go every weekend with his mom as well. I like going with his mom.
That's because she feeds us. I'm just kidding.
Not every time.
I know. I think that's it though. Overall, it was a cool weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you learned a little bit about us.
You learned a lot about us in
yeah,
this
you did.
video.
Yeah, you did. Don't be telling everybody. Thank you guys for joining. We will see you guys on our next adventure. Peace out.
Bye.